Mic checks.
Hello, it's me.
That's great. Hello, it's me.
Hi, it's Charlotte.
Host, Remy Casimir. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How Come. I'm so excited for today's episode. Before we get started, I just have to tell you some stuff about our live show coming up on August 14th. I'm so excited to see you all, but some of you have been having issues getting the tickets. Don't worry, it's not just you. If you got the thing that said processing and then you're not sure if the tickets ever went through, they didn't, unfortunately. I mean, it's not unfortunately, but they're using a new ticketing platform. You just have to sign up for a C-Tickets account. They don't have guest checkout. So you just put in your email and a password, and then you can get your tickets. Takes 2 seconds. And then if you ever want to come to Bacon Bits, my other show at the Stand, or another live show, or any of the other comedy shows at the Stand, you'll be ready to go. So go to howcomepodcast.com, go to remycasimir.com. The ticket link is on both of those. We also are putting it below in the show notes today. So go if you're in New York City, August 14th. We want to see you. It's a very small room. It's only 60 seats. So it's going to be really fun, really intimate. We're all going to really get to know each other and have the best time. I'll probably be there in some swaggy How Come merch because I'm obsessed with it, and our store's back up. Charlotte fixed everything. Yay, Charlotte. We got hats. We've got sweatshirts. We've got tote bags now because our dad requested a tote bag, so we made one. We've got socks because if you want to keep your feet warm for sex, that's good. It keeps the blood going to your genitals instead of to your feet to keep them warm. Today's episode is awesome. We are talking to Sexuality Doula, Ev'Yan Whitney. You're going to love her. Here we go.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
This week's guest, she is a sexuality doula, a sex educator and facilitator, and the host of the podcast, The Sexually Liberated Woman. She has helped thousands of women and femme-identifying folks step out of shame, fear, and trauma and into sexual liberation through her online courses, in-person workshops, and one-on-one sessions. Everybody welcome Ev'Yan Whitney.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
On your trip. New York has been kind to you?
It's been so kind. This is actually the third time I've been to New York in less than 2 months.
Well,
so
welcome
yes.
back to New York, and welcome to How Come.
it just keeps calling me back. So yeah, I'm happy to be
love
here.
it. Can you explain to everyone what a sexuality doula is? Because
Yeah.
initially I was like, oh, we're going to talk about giving birth, like a doula. Because that's what I'm familiar with.
Yeah, that's actually not so far off. I
Okay.
think the way that I interpret sexuality doula is I am essentially helping people have a certain kind of birth, perhaps not in like birthing a human, but birthing their sexual liberation, like birthing sexual empowerment. And so the same way that doulas like educate, facilitate, hold space, give resources to their clients who are about to birth, I do the very same things for folks who are wanting to step out of sexual shame, trauma, issues that they have with their sex lives, and into sexual liberation, whatever that looks like for them.
That's so nice.
So yeah, it's like, I like to say that it's like a hybrid and a combo of like therapy, coaching, counseling, mentoring, and also just like having a chit chat with one of your really best friends who's not going to judge you for what you say.
Cool.
Because yeah, a lot of my clients come to me and they're like, I've never told anyone this before.
Yeah.
And
there's
there's such
not
a freedom.
had the opportunity to do it
Right.
or the space to do it.
Exactly.
So it's not really like hands-on sexual therapy. Just
no. I mean, like I would be open to that potentially,
a baby doula is
right, like right in there.
Right in there, yeah.
my stuff is more just like lots of talking, and then I give them tools and techniques to embody that sexual liberation or start to like heal their sexuality. Yeah.
And how did you get into that?
Ooh, it's a long story, so I don't know how much time we have.
We have until the next loud nurse comes.
So I have been writing forever. I've been writing in diaries since I was like 7.
Same.
And
wait, I know we're going to be really similar. I know you're a Virgo.
Are you a Virgo? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love Virgo.
I know.
I was actually going to ask,
Yeah.
because I feel Virgo energy from you, and I was like, I don't know, maybe sometimes I project.
Yeah,
my
no.
own Virgo energy.
I'm noticing Rachel Sennett had her first orgasm with a specific toy, told somebody, then who told me. And so she's like my big, and like I owe my first orgasm to her.
Oh, that's nice.
She's a Virgo too.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like, oh, we're all kind of like late in life.
Yeah.
Bloomers.
I wonder about that. I wonder, because actually, it's so funny. Many of my clients have been Virgos.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. So, so I've been writing since I was 7.
Okay.
And throughout my life, I'd been trying to have writing be a part of just self-expression. And when I was in my early 20s, when I had just gotten married, I had a fashion blog, actually, that was called Apricot Tea. And within that fashion blog, I was talking about what I was wearing, and then also weaving in stories and essays about my experiences of being a newlywed. And there was one essay that I wrote in particular that was about my sex life and how sex with my husband was so hard, and I couldn't understand why. I was young, he was young, we were both attracted to each other, we had great chemistry with each other.
Were you each other's firsts?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, he was the second guy that I'd ever slept with, but Jonathan had many different partners before that.
Okay.
And up until...
But it wasn't we're two people who have never had sex and we're just not figuring it out quite
No.
so well.
Actually, when we got together, we were fucking like rabbits.
Okay.
I mean, we had we were having sex in these seedy motels and
Awesome.
because neither of us had our own place to stay at the time, and so we were just
so young.
Yeah, because we were so
Yeah.
young, and we just wanted to get it on, but we didn't want to do it in our parents' living room,
Naturally.
So yeah. So so we had a lot of amazing sex in the beginning, and then right when we moved in together and we got married, that's when my own sexual desire just plummeted for some reason. And I didn't know about what was going on at the time. Now that I have the perspective, I understand why that was.
Yeah.
There was so much stress going on in my life. My parents were getting a divorce, and I was in a relationship, a really healthy relationship for the first time ever in my life. And yeah, there's just a lot of change and a lot of transition happening. And so when I hit this period of my sex life not really going well, I wrote about it. And I was just saying gosh, I wish someone had told me that sex was going to be this hard, because I was raised Christian. And so, I did the whole purity contract thing where, where I was told you're not allowed to have sex until you get married and all of those things. The contract was basically I can't remember the verbiage, but it was
It wasn't a purity ring or
it wasn't a purity
crushing
ring.
a flower or
No.
telling you were a
I
piece
feel
of gum.
I feel the purity contract was a...
Charlotte, just turn the lights on. We've been sitting in the dark.
I was I'm getting very relaxed.
Why am I so tired?
Between her voice and just the darkness.
Literally. You have
I'm
the
so
most
glad you did
soothing
that.
voice
Oh my
ever.
God, thank you.
Yeah, whenever I listen to your podcast, I'm I'm going to go to sleep.
I hear that a lot, and it's so funny to me because I don't really hear it, but I receive it. I'll take it.
It's great.
Yeah. So yeah, a purity contract is I kind of see it as a poor man's purity ring.
Yeah.
You can't afford a purity ring, so you sign a contract.
Yeah.
And so I actually signed 2. I signed one when I was around 8, and then I signed another one when I was around 12 or 11. I can't remember.
That's so
Yeah.
wild.
And so basically the purity contract was you promise your virginity to God, and you make this commitment with yourself, God, and your church and your parents that you will be a virgin until you're married. And the church signs it, and then my father also signed it as well.
God.
So
stressful.
it's so fucked up. Actually,
no child should be signing a contract.
seriously. And I mean, I don't think that I really understood what I was signing the first time around. I mean, I think the second time around, definitely. They got smart actually with the second time, because with the 8, when I was 8, it was just a little certificate, a little piece of paper that you come home and showed my parents, and they were so proud. The second time, they gave me 2 versions. One was the certificate that you can hang up, and the other was a laminated card that you can put in your wallet that had the same thing. It was the same contract, but they wanted to make sure that
Keep it with you.
keep it with you as a reminder, because I mean, I could put the certificate on my wall and maybe forget.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's that is such an added level of stress
and shame
that I had never even there's something about writing it down and being like, I promise. Like, especially when like you're a person like of accountability, right? You're like, I promised, and now I feel really guilty.
Right. And I mean, for me, I'm the firstborn, and so I felt a lot of pressure growing up to be like a really good kid
and a good example
to my younger sister. And I mean, obviously I didn't keep with that contract. I ended up losing my virginity. Oh, I hate that language. It's like so ingrained in my brain. I'm trying to like take that out. I ended up having sex for the first time when I was 15.
Nice.
And so I broke the contract, which was totally fine. And consequently, my purse got stolen, and like a few years before that. And so the little laminated card that was in my wallet, I remember being really devastated that my purse got stolen, but also like, yes.
Like,
that
now I have an
card is gone,
excuse
right?
That, like,
because I couldn't throw it away.
No, I actually did forget. Like, somebody took it. It was God telling me.
Seriously.
Some things need to be lost.
Yes, exactly. Because I thought about throwing it away, but I'm like, oh my God, God is watching, so I can't.
Yeah.
So someone stealing it was like perfect. But either way, like when I was writing this essay, was coming from that place of, you know, being raised Christian and having folks tell me up until marriage is when you're supposed to not have sex. And then when you get married and you have sex, everything clicks, and all, like you're multi-orgasmic, and you know exactly what you're doing, and you're sexually confident. And I think even though I was having sex like since I was 15, and I had a lot of that's more like what I sort of like intuited.
Yeah, you were like, everything will be perfect and easy and exciting.
Right,
and,
because I think the thing that they were trying to tell us was like there's so much power in sex, and so much power that you can't contain or understand when you're younger. So that's why it's best that you know, keep it to when you're an adult.
And with that perfect person, that like puzzle piece, that it's just like everything's going to fit every single time.
Exactly.
He's going to know your body.
The problem with that is that like with purity contracts, waiting until you're married, I mean, for me, I didn't have comprehensive sex education. So the only thing that I was taught was don't have sex, like be abstinent.
Yeah.
And so when it finally came time for me to have sex, I didn't know what consent was. I didn't know what it meant. Like I didn't know what my clitoris was. I didn't know that I could have an orgasm. Like I knew none of those things.
Right.
And even though I was having sex from a young age, and I was having sex with my partner even before we got together, those messages were still in there, you know? And I was feeling like that stuff was coming up right around the time that I was having issues with my sex life. So I wrote an essay about it, and it was like one of the most popular essays that I had on that site at the time. Like I think I got like 80 comments from other women saying, holy shit, this is my experience too. I also struggle with sex, and there's just a lot of baggage and a lot of shame and just a lot of fear and questioning about it. And so that was like my first inkling that there was something here that needed to be explored, both within myself and then like with other people. Yeah. And so fast forward a couple years, I decided to devote an entire blog to chronicling my sexual liberation journey, because I just hit this period where I was just tired of this bullshit. I was like, I'm too young. I am too attractive. Like, why do I have these issues? You know what I mean? And I kept hearing about people having these explosive, incredible, multi-orgasmic sex lives. And I was just like, I want that. And I deserve that.
Had you been coming at all, like before you got married?
I was having orgasms by myself, but I was and even when I was in the early stages when we first got married, I was like faking my orgasms a lot. Yeah. And I didn't realize, oh my God, when I was a kid, or not a kid, but like when I was like a young adult, I didn't know that I could have an orgasm. Yeah. And so I would watch these sex scenes in R-rated films, and I would see the woman like, screaming and writhing. And I thought that the more that you vocalize and the more that you writhe and the more that you moan, that's what like, there's some sort of pipeline. So I thought like that, like having, like faking those orgasms was part of it.
Yeah.
If you scream it, you will come.
If you scream it.
Exactly. And there'd be some times when I would do this whole like, you know, song and dance, and I would be like vocalizing and everything. I'm like, I think I might have had one, but I didn't.
But you didn't. Yeah.
I was just like performing.
Very similar.
Yeah.
But so do you remember your first one that you ever had alone?
Yeah, I was young.
Okay.
So I recall masturbating before I even knew what masturbating was when I was like 3. Like self-soothing.
Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't
And then
like...
you didn't make the connection that that's what they were doing on screen?
No.
Interesting.
Well, because like I wasn't taught that girls masturbate.
Yeah.
I thought that was only a thing that boys
guys
do.
Yeah. And if you did, you were like disgusting.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, so I was in a pretty shitty first sexual relationship with someone. We were like supposed to be high school sweethearts. We got together when I was 15 and we ended up breaking up when I was about 18. And there were so many traumatic experiences sexually that this man gave me.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he gave me that I actually really appreciate was that he taught me how to masturbate. And I remember like we were on the phone. We would have like these hour-long conversations back in the day when it was cool to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
Because nobody talks on the phone these days.
No, it's like very annoying now.
Yeah.
But it used to be the coolest thing.
Totally. We both had like cordless phones and we would stay on the phone for hours while our parents were asleep and like the phones would die and stuff like that. And I remember one time we were talking, I don't know how we got on the subject, but he was telling me that like it's okay to masturbate. Like girls do it too. And I was like, no, they don't. And he's like, yeah, they do. Like, here, let me show you how.
That's
and
so nice
on
of
the
him,
phone, I
even
know.
though he's a generally not great.
No,
person.
he's a horrible person, but that's like the one gift that he gave me. And I think that having that experience of not even really that he taught me, but that he gave me permission to explore my body in that way. I think that's when I put those two things together of like, oh, this is familiar. Like, this isn't the first time that I've done this because I could feel those same bodily sensations, you know?
Yeah, I kind of... But sometimes I worry because that is a beginning story of a lot of people on this podcast, that it was like I was with the first person I was ever comfortable with and it really unleashed this other side to me. And then that, like, I don't want that message to younger women or femmes out there to be like, you need to find the person to be complete.
Right.
But there is something in that women do wait for permission.
Right.
Especially with somebody that they are sexually attracted to, because it feels like that's what we've been told. Like, this Prince Charming is going to be the thing that validates you.
Right. Right.
So,
But like you can give yourself permission.
you can give yourself permission all the time.
And
let us give you permission.
Yeah.
We'll tell
I mean,
you to masturbate.
That's what I do with my work. Like, I
Yeah.
essentially give women and femmes permission to explore their sexuality without it being connected to their partner. You know, like one of the first things I'll tell a client is that, like, I think it's really great, especially if they are in a partnership. Like, listen, this work that we're doing is definitely going to influence and potentially enhance the relationship that you have with this other person. But that's not the goal here. The goal is for you to discover and heal and liberate yourself, and whatever happens will ultimately affect, in a positive way, the relationship that you have.
Totally.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So you were masturbating as like a young child, and then did you stop up till the point that he told you it was okay?
I think I stopped. I can't remember really doing it. Yeah, I can't remember really doing it when I was like, you know, a preteen or anything like that. I feel like when I was doing it when I was really, really young, it was more to self-soothe. Because I remember I would do it before I'd go to sleep.
Yeah.
It helped me sleep, you know? And I didn't have an orgasm. It wasn't sexual. It was just a way for me to soothe myself.
Yeah, my body
you know?
has this little like red light that keeps going off, and I need to like turn it off.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, it wasn't until I was around 15 or 16 that I had
The permission.
that I was given permission.
What did you do after that conversation?
Oh, so we ended the conversation. It's so funny how I can remember this because it was so many years ago. But
yeah, but it's important.
I know it's so important.
Yeah.
It's like my like sexual
and if you were
origin
journaling,
story.
like whenever you journal,
Oh
you
my
remember
God.
shit the most.
Yeah,
because like
exactly.
you've already recorded it once.
I remember he told me where to touch myself. He told me the pacing to go in. I can't remember if he
was he the
mentioned
same
lube.
age as you?
He was like, I think, a year older than me.
How
so
is
around.
he so good at sex?
Maybe he had a lot of it. He actually
That's
really
insane.
wasn't. Good
Oh,
at sex. Not with me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that he was giving me permission, it's bizarre to me that it happened that way. Knowing our sexual history and the things that happened between us and the ways that it wasn't consensual, that there was just this small little incident where there was like that permission, where he saw like my sexual humanity. Like I think about this a lot and I'm like, how did that happen? Like how can both of those things happen at the same time?
Well, it's a very common thing in abuse.
Yeah.
Where they actually do afford you some nice thing,
Right.
like, and make
Right.
you feel good and stuff. And that can be really confusing and can be a big part of like your sexual journey.
Right.
And then that leaves the person feeling, like, then you're like, is every masturbation event like owed to him?
Right.
It's also just a really good lesson, I think, in learning that like people are not Disney villains.
Right.
The bad guy is not always fully bad. Often like we live in a gray area where they are going to bring you like certain aspects of joy
Right.
and pain. And it doesn't mean you should be with them just because there is that bit of joy. But it's like when you get older, you realize, all right, I'm going to take the good parts of them and like leave the bad parts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And this is definitely one good part that I can take and like kind of like I've healed so much from that relationship. It was such a big relationship for me. I mean, it was my first love, the first time I ever had sex. Like we were supposed to get married. Like it was the whole fresh out of high school, total love story thing. And it just didn't happen. And, I've made a lot of progress in terms of being able to let that go. But there is that one piece of that permission that he gave me to explore my body that like I'll never forget.
Are you open to talking about the traumatic experience?
Yeah. I've talked about this before, like on my podcast and in other places, even on my blog too. There's like articles on it. So I'm a pretty open book about it. But basically, a lot of the sex that we had wasn't consensual. And I didn't really think anything of it until we had broken up and I was seeing another guy who was amazing. Yeah. And we were having a conversation where I don't know how we got on the subject, but we were talking about oral sex, like giving head. And I was explaining to him the experiences that I had previously had with my ex, where I had been forced to give oral sex to him without necessarily saying like, this is what I want. And I was talking about this and just like being very light about it. And I was laughing and I was like, isn't that weird? And he's like, EvYan, that's rape. And I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, that's seriously rape. And that was the first time that the experiences that I had with him were contextualized in that way.
Yeah.
Like for me, I was just like, oh, this is what you do. Like this is part, because I think another part of the religious trauma that I have is that with sex, it was about you servicing
the man. Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of my sex with him was more so me being the subservient, submissive, pre-wife.
I always think about this because it was this patriarchal thing, and I sometimes struggle when talking about this podcast that a lot of people are struggling with trauma from religion. I don't want to be like separate from religion altogether, but that patriarchal system is really damaging when you think that you are a second-class citizen because of your gender.
Right. And it fucked me up. I mean, these are still stories that I'm having to unlearn to this day. I mean, I have since separated myself from Christianity. I don't consider myself a Christian. I haven't considered myself a Christian since I was about 17. And even though like I don't read the Bible, I don't go to church, those messages were given to me at such a pivotal moment during my life, like when I was young and dumb and I was like easily susceptible to this information. I mean, really vulnerable, you know?
Totally.
But I was just thinking also like for any woman, what you have on your website, you were saying like you spent so many years violating your own body, like having the sex when you didn't want to have the sex. And I think that's a really important takeaway because I think every woman has had sex, even with a boyfriend or with a husband or anything that they're like.
It wasn't until I started talking about it with people that I was like, oh, you can say, no, I don't want to blow you right now?
Yeah,
and you can have sex how you want and when you want and with whom you want.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just find it so interesting because you've gone, like Remy actually, both of you are very similar in that like through your journeys, you've both had partners the entire time. And what I thought was interesting is you wrote like from a sexless marriage to like this new blossomed stage. What were those changes that you made?
Well, first I started just getting curious about why I was fucked up sexually. Like, where is this shit coming from? You know, like, why is it that I feel so much shame about my sexuality and my body? And where did I learn those stories? And what are those stories? Like, what stories do I want to shift into? What new stories do I want to believe instead? That was a really big piece, because I think that I had spent so much time thinking about the negative stuff and like how fucked up shit was for me, that I wasn't really spending a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to be instead, or how I wanted my sex life to be instead. And so the moment that I asked myself those questions of like, okay, where is all this shit coming from? And then also what
do
kind
I
of
want?
What do I want?
Yeah.
How do I want to feel when
Vision
I'm having
board
sex?
sex.
Yeah.
No, but
know?
and instead of saying like what I don't want, what do I want?
Right. And sometimes that was difficult for me to answer, because so much of my own desire around sex was through someone else's gaze and through someone else's desire. So it took a little bit for me to actually figure out what I wanted. And that there was a lot of work that was involved with that, like just self-discovery, asking myself a lot of questions, lots of journaling, reading books. Like, I really went through a sexual education process in my early 20s, like to give myself the sexual education that I just did not get when I was young, 15, having sex, when I don't want to say that when I shouldn't have, because I don't want to shame myself for the decisions that I made, but I just think that if I had had a little bit more information at the time, I would have been a little bit more
ready,
equipped to deal with the shit that was coming up while I was in that relationship.
Yeah.
Because a lot of shit came up and I didn't feel like I didn't know how to handle it. I just thought that it was normal.
Yeah, that's
know?
a lot of stuff. Like, I think all of our moms, or if the ones aren't telling you don't wait for marriage, they're like, have sex when you're ready, but they don't really tell you what ready means.
Right.
And ready means like able to say what you want,
right,
and to speak up, and to have it be about you and your pleasure. And the other person too.
Right.
Like that it should be fun.
That it should be fun.
Right, sex should be fun.
But our mom even said it should be fun, but she never said it should end in an orgasm. She didn't mention I'm sorry, Mom, I love you, and don't cry again. You did a great job of teaching us, but we're just going to do it a little better this time. She cried after the first 3 episodes. She's like, I thought I told you.
Oh my God. I've had those experiences with my mom too, like just because she follows my work, and she'll...
Your
your
mom,
mom, and your sister on the podcast.
Yeah. So sometimes we've had conversations where she'll say like, I feel like such a bad mom. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, you did what you could with the information that you had at the time. Like, I don't blame my mom
totally
at all, you know,
totally.
but it's my responsibility to shift that,
Yeah.
you know, to change the story.
I think that's such an important thing. It's just like, if somebody doesn't know something, it's not because they're like so dumb. It's just because they haven't had access to it.
Or permission.
Or they can have a lot of homophobia in them because they don't know any gay people. They've never been told that's okay, you know, like, and it doesn't mean that you are stuck there.
Right.
You can always grow.
Right.
And I think that's such a big part of what you're doing is like, some people are like I even thought for a moment, oh, I don't have orgasms, they're not for me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They're for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with people who are like as young as like 20 and as old as like 55.
Awesome.
You know, and like that is such a testament to like, even if you feel like you've lived your entire life having dysfunctional, disconnected sex, like there's always time.
Yeah.
You always have time to shift it around and to change those narratives.
And other stuff too.
Right.
Like I was like, ooh, I could never start, you know, comedy or entertainment because I'm
Right,
too
absolutely.
old. You can always start stuff.
Absolutely.
Like I remember having that mentality when I was in like 3rd grade about something. Oh, I can't start kickball now because I haven't done it. You know, like you can always start stuff. It's never the end.
Especially with coming, and all you need is you.
Yeah. Like and a little alone time and a little lube.
You don't need to
and
depend
some
on anybody.
toys. Yeah.
yeah. Oh my God.
Speaking of toys, we are so excited to tell you about another amazing sex toy company that we just learned about.
Yeah.
Plus One. They're awesome, and they are the first brand of high-quality devices that are sold at Walmart and Target. Amazing. The Plus One products are quality to what you find in adult stores, but at a fraction of the price. Fully waterproof, USB rechargeable, soft and smooth, body-safe silicone, multiple vibration settings. They're awesome. The products are approachable and affordable, with products ranging from $10, yeah, that's right, to $30. The packaging is very pretty, but it's also discreet. I know some of you really care about that. It is super discreet. You can put it face down in your shopping cart and head to self-checkout, if you're buying them from Walmart or Target. They're perfect, but I say, loud and proud. I'm proud. They're gorgeous, and I want people to know that I use them. But seriously, they're perfect for anyone who's just starting to explore sex toys and doesn't know where to begin. Plus One has 4 different devices, all different shapes. One of them is very similar looking to another device that I'm obsessed with, but I'm obsessed with both of them because they've got different vibration settings, and Plus One products have this rumble that I felt in my belly. So I'm obsessed with all of our toys. It's not like you're not just going to eat pizza for the rest of your life, even though pizza is great. Love pizza, but I also love sushi. I also love pasta. So if I've recommended pizza to you before and you loved pizza, why don't you try some pasta? So Plus One, like I said, has 4 devices in their line to cover the basics, and the price makes them low risk to try. They also have some new products coming out in a few weeks that I'm very excited to talk about. They sent one of them to me. It's going to be awesome. Visit myplusone.com to see their full range of products, learn more, and find your closest Target and Walmart to buy. Isn't that cool? You can buy them at a Target and Walmart. You can follow them on Instagram at _myplusone. And yeah, Google them. They're beautiful. You're going to love them.
That actually reminds me, this might be like getting a little off topic, but this is something that I was thinking about just last night. I was thinking about how differently I masturbate when I'm by myself.
Ooh.
Particularly when my partner's not in the room or like my partner isn't around. Like I actually had sex with myself last night and I was like, this is interesting. Like I feel like I'm accessing a different part of my sexuality that I never tried to access before with other people.
I was just noticing we've been talking about how I clench my butt really tight when I masturbate and stuff, but I think that's why it's so hard for me to do it with another person sometimes, because they're usually, their hands are on your butt, and when I clench my butt,
it doesn't feel so grabbable.
It feels very celluloidy and small, and I don't want to take them out of them. So I don't know, maybe I just have to be like, Ben, move your hands or something like that. Like,
well, it's just so funny too, because we were talking about, and you're talking about vocalization and how this is all such a part of sex, and we were talking about,
you can't just scream your way to an orgasm.
We were talking about,
no, I wish, God.
Like, can someone really tell if you've had one? We were like, well, because here's the thing, if you're really like alone and you're just doing it for you, you might not be making noise at all.
Yeah.
Or you're on your stomach. You don't look cute. Your face is scrunched up. Your legs are like crossed.
It doesn't look
sexy.
like right. Oh, it looks like
you're like, well, I twitch here and there.
Seriously. I mean, I realize that a lot of the way, most of the time when I masturbate, it's usually when either my partner is laying next to me and I'm like, I can't sleep, so I'm just gonna like rub one out really fast. Or like, or my partner, I'm not a morning person, so my partner will wake up before I do, and right before I get out of bed, like while he's puttering around in the kitchen, I'll like do something or whatever.
Yeah.
But I notice that typically when I masturbate, I'm pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Like I don't make any noise. And I thought that it was because like I'm just a quiet person. But as I've been finding out through this trip in New York where I have this Airbnb all by myself, I'm like making so much noise and taking up so much space.
Fun.
So it's like
That's
really,
exciting.
it's really interesting to see like this different side of myself where I'm also challenging these stories that I had about myself as a masturbator.
Yeah. Have you ever talked dirty to yourself?
No,
I have in my own head.
Oh, I did.
I try to whisper
in my own
to
head,
get myself
yes.
more comfortable using certain words.
I've never done it vocalizing.
I did it the other day, just because I had because Nanny was in the hospital, so I really had this house to myself. Oh fuck,
That is twisted.
dark. she's great now. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like taking up space and stuff, and I was like talking to myself and being like, yeah, look at your boobs, like really
that's
like
cute.
appreciating myself.
I'm gonna try that actually to like talk about
Oh my God,
it.
am I
And
so red? I can feel my face on fire.
Well,
this is a safe space.
I know, that's what this podcast is for.
if I'm red and I think I am, it's just because mine was so much worse than that.
Was it? You're like, you nasty bitch.
No, but like we had this episode on audio porn. and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
he's a real dirty talker, and I apparently like, although I'm trying to get more comfortable like doing the talking myself, but I really like hearing it. So then I'll like say things as him to myself.
Yeah, because you already have it like logged in, like every sound of his voice that you can make those sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that with a person that you have a crush on, you guys. If you just listen to them talk enough, they can dirty talk to you in your head. Ooh.
Or you can have your partner like send you a dirty like voice note. We voice note each other
Oh,
back
you
and
do?
forth. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So, okay, so when you started writing about it, like, was he clued into it?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
definitely. He actually was really supportive about it. That's the one thing that I love
Yeah.
about my partner Jonathan is
The
that
one thing. One thing, Jonathan. Nothing else. You're horrible.
that's the main thing that I love about
Yeah,
him is
yeah.
that he is so supportive. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I include him in everything. So if I am talking about him specifically, I ask for his permission. I never
Sure.
just like put
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
out there. But for the most part, he's been incredibly supportive and has given me so much space to figure out who I am as a sexual person.
Mm-hmm.
Because the difference between he and I is that like, I mean, I think he had sex with 10 people before he
Yeah.
met me. Whereas like when I met him, I'd only had sex with one person.
Yeah.
So like I feel like he came into our relationship feeling sexually confident. Like he knew who he was as a sexual person. And I thought I knew, but I realized later that I was just faking it and I was performing and I was
Yeah.
like taking other people's ideas, identities, and like looking at our culture's ideas about like what a sexual woman is supposed to look like. And I was doing that.
Yeah.
Like I'm a really good mimicker. I don't know if that's a Virgo thing.
I think it is.
But like, yeah,
honestly.
I can like totally fake it
Yeah.
forever. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that anymore. you
Yeah,
know?
no, you shouldn't. And
No
I
one
think
should.
that's why, like, masturbate, like, even you are learning stuff now,
Yeah.
like, this far into your journey. Do you remember the first time you masturbated after you had the permission conversation?
I did. So after that phone call, actually, I remember we ended that conversation because he's like, okay, so I taught you. Now I'm going to hang up with you and have fun. And he hung up the phone. And I don't remember what I did, but I believe that I masturbated that night. And I actually had an orgasm. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I can make myself come? That's crazy. Yeah.
So fun. And then you just kept going.
I just kept doing it. And you know what's funny is that I would fake my orgasms constantly within this relationship with him, and then after he would leave, I would just like get myself off. And I just thought that that's what you
Yeah.
did.
I mean, I've
you know?
seen so many memes that were like, oh, like, girl goes home right after fucking a guy. Why did you leave? To get off. Yeah. Or whatever. And I didn't
Exactly.
understand those memes because I wasn't doing that. I
Yeah.
was like, no, I thought you pretend to get off when you're
Yeah.
with them. And that's
And I
the
mean,
end.
like, I want to put it out there that I don't think that the orgasm or an orgasm is the all end
no,
all.
definitely
Like,
not. No.
you know, like I think that it's like I've had amazing sex without me having an orgasm.
Totally.
But I want the ability to choose that. Like, if
Yeah,
I go
yeah.
into a sexual experience and I'm like, I'm actually cool not having an orgasm today. That feels a lot different than me being like, I really want to come. Oh, I guess my partner's going to just roll over and go to bed
Totally.
now, you know?
Totally.
And that has been a really big thing that has shifted in my sexual identity relationship even is like taking a lot of the pressure off of orgasm
Yeah.
and not feeling like I need to do that or that like sex ends when like my partner has an orgasm.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Or like it's a failure if you don't.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like it's very enjoyable
Exactly.
regardless. Like it can be.
Yeah.
right.
And just as you were saying, like reframing this idea of virginity and what sex is, like sex
Yeah.
and just having sex with yourself. I fucked myself the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about there's this stat flying around that like our generation's having like less sex, less
I
sex,
heard
less
that.
sex.
Which
but are they
I'm
taking
like-
into account self sex?
That-
'Cause I feel
that
like
was
we're
my
doing
question,
a lot
too.
more masturbation. And
That was my question,
we
too.
are a lot more fulfilled. We just might not be
Or
touching other people's skin all the time.
Or we are redefining what sex is.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not having a lot of penis and vagina sex, but maybe we're doing a whole bunch of other things. And
Yeah.
and maybe if, whoever did this study or whatever is quantifying sex as being penis and vagina sex, like, of course, we would see that we're not having more sex, you know?
So how did you start teaching other people then?
Yeah. So, right as I was journaling and being very public about my own adventures and explorations about my sex life, which were very public, like I was putting it on my website. That was called Sexually Liberation at the time, but it's now been changed to my regular name. People were reading what I was experiencing, and they were like, "Holy shit, I want to be taught by you. Like, where are you teaching workshops? Where can I buy a book? Where can I get a one-on-one session with you?" And originally when I started doing this work, I was not at all thinking about becoming a facilitator or a teacher or an educator. I was just doing this selfishly for me. And so seeing other people read my story and take so much inspiration from it and to also want to learn from me, I was like, I'm not doing that. And so after, like, I kind of made the decision to, like, kind of take that off the plate, because I really didn't want to go there. And then it just kept happening. Like, people kept asking me. And I was working with a mentor at the time on some other, like, life coachy stuff. And me doing the work that I was doing and experiencing the things that I was experiencing, it just kept coming up. And she was also a psychic, and she was telling me, like, listen, you have a gift for this. I really think that you should consider, like coaching people, healing people, because you have a knack for it. And I decided to just, like, give it a try. I had my first maybe 10 or 15 sessions with, like, 10 or 15 different people.
Did you do any, like, classes or anything? You just, like...
I just went into it. Well, I told I was like, when I was talking to my mentor about this, she was like, I was telling her that, okay, so I should go back to school and I should read all these books. And she's like, you don't need any of that. Like, I've been working with you for 3 months. You know what you're talking about. You've done so much work up until this point. You've done all the research. Just show up and, like, be yourself. Yeah. And so when I started, like, actually doing this first round of sessions, like, I charged like $15 for an hour, because I was like, if I fail miserably, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my God, I just
been
blew.
taken.
Like, exactly.
Yeah, we never want people to feel like they've been taken, and that's why we only talk about products that we believe in on this podcast, like Brooklyn and sheets. We haven't talked about them in a while, but they are amazing. I've been sleeping in them for about 9 months now, and wow. And here's something I was thinking about. You spend 1/3 of your life in sheets. I definitely spend way more of my life in sheets. But don't you want those sheets to be insanely comfortable? And now with the warmer weather, or insanely hot weather, maybe it's time to switch up your sheets and duvets to something a little breezier, lightweight, and soft. You need to check out Brooklinen's newest linen collection. With a beautiful assortment of colors, Brooklinen's got 35,000 5-star reviews, more than any online bedding company, 500,000 happy sleepers and counting, and 2 of them are me and Charlotte.
Yay!
I've always wanted really great luxury linens, but I never feel like I deserve them because they're so expensive, and I'm like, what if I get them dirty? What if something happens? What if I don't like them as much? What if it just ends up being a waste? These are never a waste, won't cost you an arm and a leg, and they are luxury AF. Founded in early 2014 by husband and wife Vicky and Rich Fulop, who wanted to find beautiful home essentials that didn't break the bank. Their mission? To make you comfortable. And they sell it all. Luxury linen sheets and robes without the luxury markups. Brooklinen was the first DTC bedding company, meaning that they work directly with manufacturers and directly with customers. No middlemen, just a great product and service. And they've got 12 beautiful linen colors and patterns to choose from. So, like, I mixed and matched, so did Charlotte, and we're obsessed with our beds. So it's in their name, so you know it's good. Brooklinen's newest linen collection is amazing. I couldn't recommend their products more. For graduates, newlyweds, friends, or family, or treating yourself to the bedroom upgrade you deserve, go make love to yourself. Brooklinen.com is giving an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Get 10% off and free shipping when you use promo code HOWCOME at Brooklinen.com. Brooklinen is so confident in their product that all their sheets, comforters, and towels come with a lifetime warranty. Yes, lifetime. The only way to get 10% off and free shipping, though, is to use promo code HowCome at brooklinen.com. That is BROOKLINEN.com. Promo code HowCome. Brooklinen. These sheets are the best sheets ever. And after you get them, you won't feel taken. We don't want people to feel taken. We want you to spend no money and feel the most best. So these are luxury sheets for less. Brooklinen.com. Promo code HowCome. But you were saying, Ev'Yan, in the beginning of coaching, you didn't want people to feel taken.
Exactly. And also, I didn't really know what to expect of myself.
Yeah.
And so when I showed up to the sessions, I was expecting that I would fail, that I would bomb. And like, I feel... even to this day, I feel like when I am on the phone with a client, I'm channeling something. Mm-hmm. Like there's like an intuitive and inherent wisdom in me that comes through that is able to like really get to the root of what they're experiencing and help them get past it, help them heal through it. And I've been doing that for like, I've been doing one-on-one work for about maybe 6 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of success stories have obviously come out of it. Like you've had so many of these people on your podcast to talk about their journeys. Is there a favorite journey of yours?
Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, I wish that I could like interview every single one of my previous clients because they all have incredible stories. But what I will say, there was one woman who came to me who was in her like late 40s, early 50s. And she had like done the whole raised 2 kids, put them through college, was married for 25 years, divorced him because she realized that she was a lesbian, and like came to me because she was like, so I'm a lesbian and I don't know what to do with this. And so part of our work was me helping her to discover her sexual identity as a lesbian and also to explore herself and her body. And one of the things that she came to in sessions with me is just feeling such a disconnection from her body and particularly her vulva. And I remember one exercise I told her to do, because part of the work is talking, and then at the end I give them assignments to like physically embody this work of sexual healing and liberation, because like we can talk all day, but action is what's going to change stories. You know,
those have been my favorite therapists. That's not like we talk. They're like, okay, now go home and make a list of the things you need to do this week.
Exactly. Exactly. So one assignment that I gave her, just for shits and giggles, because I was like, I want to see what happens. I told her, I want you to take a mirror in between your legs and look at your vulva every single day. And I want you to say 3 affirmations. I can't remember what they were right now, and I was like, say them even if they're not true. Say them if you don't really mean it, but like just make this habit of bringing connection, like to actually lock eyes with the mirror to see yourself in that way. And she was like, I don't know about this. And I was like, girl, I feel you. Just like, trust me. I promise, like if you bomb, if it fails, I'm not going to be mad. Like every assignment that I give a client, I'm just like, we'll see what happens. Let's see. And so a week later, I was like, so how was your assignment? And she was like, well, the first day, looked at my vulva and I was like, I don't like it. And she said the third day she looked at it and she was like, that's okay. And then the 7th day, and the day that we spoke, she was like, I fucking love my vulva. She's this and she's that. And on the 7th
day, there was light.
Yes, literally. And it was crazy to watch her, because like when we were having these conversations about her vulva, she was like, I don't like it. It's ugly. It's lopsided. It's dark. It's this, it's that. And she had all of these negative things about it. And then at the end of this assignment, she was like, oh my God, I love it. And it's so juicy and it's so cute. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So like basically she just healed 50 plus years of like body disconnection, trauma, all of these old stories about her vulva within 7 days.
That's so crazy.
That's nuts.
You were also saying how she is a lesbian and was discovering that. You've also said that you are a queer person in a straight relationship. Can you kind of explain that to people?
So I know that like in technical terms, I'm considered to be in a straight relationship or a hetero relationship because I'm with a cis male, but he's actually queer. And so with us both being queer and me also questioning my gender right now, it's kind of like, I feel like we're in a queer relationship.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you know Bethany Myers and Nico Tortorella?
I don't think so.
They both go by they, them, and they're in a what looks like heterosexual relationship, but they're doing huge things for like queer relationships that
Yeah, I'll have to check them out because I need more examples and representation of what this looks like, because that's one of the most frustrating things, and just something that I have to get over, is the fact that I am straight passing, you know, and that when I walk down the street with my partner, that folks automatically assume that I'm straight. And it's like, no, I actually have thought about wearing a shirt that says I'm not straight, so that people know that, like, you know, this is not what you think, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've had ideas like that too, because I feel like from this podcast, I'm like, well, I'm definitely more into girls than I thought I was. And now how do I deal with that being in a relationship that I have no intention of ending?
Right.
Did you do any exploration sexually getting to know women, or?
Totally. Okay. Yeah. We still have an open relationship.
Okay.
I feel like my whole sexual development around my sex life and the healing that I've done has been just like so many opportunities. And right around the time when I was figuring out my sex stuff, I also realized, like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not straight. Like, I don't know what I am, and I wasn't comfortable putting a label on it at the time.
Was that when you were already married? Or?
Yes, when I was already married. And like, I didn't feel comfortable with the label because I had this thought that I wasn't allowed to claim myself queer, bisexual, whatever, unless I had had a previous sexual experience with someone who wasn't a man.
Right.
And so I knew that I wasn't straight. I just didn't know what I was. I didn't know what that like word was. And those were conversations that I had pretty early on with Jonathan about like, yeah, so I don't know if I'm straight and I don't know what that means for our relationship. And we started talking about what it would look like to open our relationship as a way for me to, like, I wasn't necessarily interested in like dating multiple people, but I was mostly interested in like honoring and acknowledging and celebrating my sexual identity, which is, you know, at the time wasn't straight, and now, you know, today I claim queer. But so yeah, we've had an open relationship for us both, like on both sides, for us to like acknowledge and celebrate our queer identities.
Were the initial conversations like kind of scary?
Oh my God, they were so scary. Actually, when we decided to, before we decided to open up, Jonathan, he reached out to me. Oh my God, this story is so funny. We were watching this documentary one day about white people who were in a commune in like Northern California, and they were all wife swapping, and they all had kids by multiple people, and they were just like in this love commune where they would have sex with each other and raise their pigs and all that stuff. And like, it was so interesting. And I remember watching this documentary being like, this is fascinating, but this isn't for me. Yeah. And they use the word polyamory within that that documentary.
Yeah.
And we watched it together, and then the next morning I was like, yeah, so that documentary was really interesting, right? Like, polyamory, that's so weird. And he was like, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I think I might be polyamorous, and I've been having feelings for someone that I don't know what to do with, and she's been having feelings for me, and like, I don't know what any of this means. I just want you to know that like, this is something that is coming up. And I was not happy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I'm going to be
monogamous. It
was
an instant compersion?
Oh, no. Fuck no. I was like, okay, that's nice. You can do that over there, but we're not going to be together.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, I was also raised in a monogamous household, and the idea that you have eyes for someone else means that you don't genuinely love that person, which is so asinine to think about now. Like, when you become married, you're supposed to like not have any sexual desire for other people.
Yeah, you suddenly are blind, and can't emotionally connect with people.
It's so ridiculous, but at the time, that's what I thought was the case. And so I was like, okay, so you're a weirdo, and like, I respect that, but like, that's not me.
I've broken up with boyfriends because I'm like, I have a crush on somebody else right now, like, and this must mean that I'm not into you anymore. And then I check myself, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm still into you.
Yeah.
But that ideology of like, oh, well, your eyes are supposed to be for one person alone. Like, and if they're not, like, then he's not the one for you.
Seriously, like, when you get married, you don't die.
Yeah.
You know, like, you still have desires, and you still find people attractive, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, obviously this was different because he was thinking about like
actually having a
relationship, right?
Because there's difference between polyamory and an open relationship. And a lot of people have been like, oh, can you cover open relationships? Because we did a polyamory episode last season with both you define your own terms.
Absolutely.
But with
Yeah.
open relationships, it just seems like there's less love aspect.
It can be. I mean, from what I've seen, I've noticed that people are saying polyamory and open relationships and using them like
interchangeably now.
Exactly.
Okay.
So like some people will be like, I'm polyamorous, but they actually don't have, maybe they actually don't know what polyamorous means because they're just, you know, fucking other people and there's no like romantic or emotional connection. And then I've also seen people who are in open relationships but also have that emotional and romantic connection. So I think that people are just like taking that language and defining it for their own unique experience. But for Jonathan specifically, when he said polyamory, he meant polyamory. Yeah, it wasn't like, I want to fuck this woman. It was like, oh, we're having like emotional connections with each other.
I wanted to be part of my life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And she wanted him to be a part of hers. And so I wasn't having it. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. And, you know, there was the option potentially of us not being together because the one thing that I didn't want, because he kept talking about this as being a part of his identity. He's like, I identify as polyamorous. And I was like, I'm not going to take that away from you. Like you are allowed to identify however you want to, but like, I'm not going to be in a relationship with someone where your identity
is hurting you.
Exactly. Like I can't be that partner to you that you need, that's going to honor your identity. And so we had those conversations and he was like, you know, I'm okay. Like I feel like polyamory or my polyamorous identity isn't something that is like non-negotiable for me. Like I'm able to just like let it go. Like I would be happy living and being with you for the rest of my life. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. So, so like fast forward 6 months.
Shut it down.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, great, that's amazing because I don't want to talk about this. So 6 months later or so, maybe about a year later, I started catching feelings for someone else. And she was a woman. And that's when I realized, oh,
This
Paul,
could work
this
for
is a
us.
thing.
Yeah.
Because I was adamantly like, I will never be non-monogamous.
Yeah.
I will always be monogamous. I will never see anyone else other than like, And so the fact that I had these feelings come up and I was like really entertaining the idea of actually being in a relationship with someone else. I was like, first of all, I'm sorry. I totally thought that you were a weirdo, but clearly it's a thing that
I thought you were a weirdo.
Yeah, like,
but I still love you.
Yeah, well, the one thing that I said to him was like, this is white people shit. Like, I don't do polyamory. Like, black people don't do that, which is totally false. I mean, like, I think black folks, queer folks, brown folks have been doing like non-monogamy open relationships.
People are people.
Yeah.
And there are going to be white people who want to be monogamous and black people who want to be monogamous and Indian people who don't want to be monogamous and white people who don't want to be monogamous. You know,
we're
like,
all different.
We're all different. And like, there shouldn't be like this script of like, this is who your lineage has been. This is how you have to be.
Right. Yeah. So we after I started catching feelings, that's when we had like a real sit down conversation about what opening our relationship, being non-monogamous would look like for our relationship. So we had maybe 3 years worth of like conversations and intense boundary setting before we ever had our first date with someone else.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I was adamant. I was like, our relationship is like, I want to protect the integrity of our... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't want to just like jump in and start fucking people. Yeah. You know, so we had a lot of conversations. We read a lot of books. And when we started to feel like we were on the same page with everything and I mean, obviously you can't over prepare for something like this because you have to like live in it and have that experience. Yeah. But when we felt like, okay, we have all of our ducks in a row and we know like what questions to ask if we get triggered or whatever, that's when I had my first date.
That's so inspirational, I think. And it's such a different conversation than one I've ever heard before. Because I feel like most people that I know in open relationships, one person was like, I want to do this. And the other person was either like, yes. Right. Or they were like, no. And then they break up. Right. And you never really hear about that learning process and like the kind of greasing the wheels and like getting ready and having those safe words that like, if we do get uncomfortable, like, we can save this.
Right, exactly. Like actually doing the fucking work,
Yeah.
you know, because our relationship was fine. And it would have been silly for us to be like, okay, well, we have to break up now because we have different, I mean, we really wanted to try to make it work.
Yeah.
you
You're
know?
like, I still love you. I don't want to lose you.
Exactly.
And if we both happen to be a bit poly, then this might be
right.
great.
And we're both queer. And we realize that our queer identities are not going to be necessarily addressed in the relationship that we have with each other because we have like opposite genders. Like, you know, it only makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. What was your first date like?
It was so awkward. It was so awkward. I'm actually really surprised at myself because I picked this person up in the grocery store.
Ooh.
They were checking out my groceries and I was like, hey, do you want to like do something sometime? I was like, I feel like that wasn't clear, but hopefully they know that I want to like, you know, I want this more than just friends, but also like, you know, I don't want to put any pressure. And so we, I think we went to like a coffee shop. We had coffee and then, what did we do? Then we got coffee and then I think we got lunch. And then later on that week, they took me to a party or something like that. And yeah, it was cute. It was a really good first experience.
So cute.
Yeah, it was really cute when I was a little baby queer.
Do you remember his first date?
Yes, I remember his first date because it was with someone who was so fine, so attractive. I was like, oh, it sucks that you're gay because I would really love you in my bed too. But yeah, that was a really interesting experience because I wasn't really expecting for me to have feelings of jealousy come up. And yeah, a lot of feelings of jealousy were coming up for me.
And not different than you would have for a woman.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it would have been similar. I don't think it would have been the same, but it was definitely, I mean, it was just jealousy, you know, like obviously seeing that they had such a great connection with each other and they were spending a lot of time with each other.
Yeah.
And he was like literally the perfect man for Jonathan. I was like, oh, so you're just gonna leave
Gonna
me
be with
and
him now.
be with him forever and have an amazing gay old time. Yeah, that's one of the things that I really appreciate about our relationship is that we are able to like talk to each other. Like we communicate so well. So even though I was in, you know, this fit of jealousy and like, but I was able to still identify my emotions. Like I wasn't slamming doors and being passive aggressive. I was like, I feel feelings and I can't really like articulate them well, but just know that like I feel stuff and we need to talk about it.
Is jealousy a thing that's gotten easier or is it like a...
Yeah, it's gotten easier for me because I try not to give it so much power. I think when I felt jealousy, I'm like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me and there's something wrong with my relationship. I'm like, it's just a weird fucking emotion. Work through it, identify what's at the root of it, and you'll be fine.
Totally.
Like I've just been trying to take some of the power out of it.
Do you guys ever commiserate on experiences that you've had with other people?
Oh my God, all the time.
Okay.
We are like,
I can
I'm
see
the
that being
type-
very hot.
Yeah, like I'm the type of person that's like, okay, so this is what she wore.
Yeah.
And this is what she like I love hearing that stuff because he's also my best friend. So,
Totally.
you know, I want to be able to share that with him and he'll also share some of those things with me too.
And do you guys ever do group stuff with other... No.
No, it's not that... And it's not that I'm not interested in that. It's just, it's never happened.
Yeah.
It's just, it hasn't presented itself to us.
Totally.
Like I remember I was at an event a few months ago and one of the people on the panel speaking, she's a friend of mine. Do you know Shan Boodram? Shan Booty? Yeah.
She's great.
She's so great.
I know her. She doesn't know me. You're great.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love her. I love her so much. But she was like, yeah, I just got propositioned for group sex. I'm like, why doesn't that ever happen to me? Like no one ever propositions me for group sex, you know? So it doesn't come up.
And like none of the people that you're ever with are like, I want to hook up with Jonathan too.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, typically not. It's just never presented itself.
Yeah.
And I think like for us, we really want things to be organic and we've tried to do the, you know, go on Tinder and tell people that like we're a couple looking for, but I just like that just doesn't.
Gotta go on Thrinder or Field.
Wait, Thrinder is a thing?
Yeah.
I thought you were pulling my chain.
I think Thrinder is now Field, actually. Charlotte, you want to check that for me?
FEELD?
Yeah.
Someone told me about Field
Yeah.
actually this year, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll check
it's
that
for
out.
People who are anything. Like it's for people who
Okay.
are looking for more people. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I've
Play the
actually, I've actually we both have taken a break from dating other people just because I've been so consumed with my work, and he's
Totally.
also been really consumed with his work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I really love about having an open relationship is that, like, for us, it doesn't have to be open all the time. Like, even if we're not seeing people, we're still open. Like, just because we're not seeing someone doesn't mean that
Totally.
we're not open and available.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think being open too makes you check in with each other a little bit more as well, because you have to, but also like there are nights that you come home and it's like, yeah, I made the decision to come home. to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And that makes it so much sweeter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it did start as a 3 and NDR. It's like started as
Oh,
Tinder.
interesting. Okay.
Then it got rebranded after being sued by Tinder.
Oh, hilarious.
So that's now Feel.
But Tinder and Thrinder are two different things.
Yeah, but
to me.
it's like the skinny girl margarita thing, and then tipsy girl, like Sonia like stole the brand. You know what I mean? Remember?
I love that you just mentioned that because I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
I know you are because we're the same person.
Yeah, there are a lot of apps like that for whether
Yeah,
it's
I know.
couples or threesomes or
Yep.
plus.
Yep.
Yeah, there's another one. I think it's called #open that I've been hearing a lot of people talk about.
Cool.
So yeah, they're all over, and even with the apps that wouldn't traditionally, you would think that they wouldn't be traditionally for like open. I mean, I've been on Tinder. There's all kinds of people who are looking for
Totally.
multiple people.
Okay, so how's your sex life with Jonathan now?
It's amazing.
Awesome.
It's amazing. I
That's
feel
a great
like I
takeaway,
have.
you guys.
Yes, it's amazing. I mean, I feel like I have more power. I feel like I have more of a voice, and I'm able to advocate for my wants and needs so much better.
Awesome. It's been so much fun having you on this
Yes,
podcast.
thank you so much for having me.
Can you tell everybody where they can find you and
Yeah.
maybe even hire you?
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Instagram at evyan.whitney. You can also find me on my website, evyanwhitney.com. You can check out my podcast, The Sexually Liberated Woman.
It's great.
I love my little podcast. It's so fantastic. We have so many really great conversations that have happened over the last, I've been doing this for 3 years now. So,
awesome.
so they can find me there. And then, yeah, if they want to hire me, check out any of my courses, they can just go on my website and all that stuff will be there.
Perfect. If you guys want to follow us, you should. You should want to, and you should just do it. How Come Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Follow me at Remy Casimir. Charlotte, where can they find you?
Sarcastic.
Amazing. Sign up for our Patreon, you guys. We're going to have
please.
extras of this episode. And, you do a fun thing where you're like, if you want to do a one-time payment on PayPal, we're going to start doing that too. Charlotte, we'll put our PayPal info down at the bottom, and you guys can pay.
Our famous friends at gmail.com.
Is that what it is?
Sure is.
Amazing. Because we want to get video equipment and we want to show these amazing guests and have you guys have a more immersive experience of Nanny's house.
And we need new mics.
And we need new mics.
Help us out.
Yeah. Baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Yes.
Okay, I have to ask this to all of our guests and anyone after a sexual experience. EvYan, did you finish?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlotte, did you finish?
Obviously.
Amazing.
Did you finish?
Hell yeah. You guys, thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And we'll see you next time on How Come.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna just